We're here at the Google DeepMind AI and Learning Forum with Julia Wilkowski. She's the Learning Science Team Lead, a very important role when you're doing pedagogical products like Google is. Welcome to the podcast.
Great, thanks Alex, it's great to be here.
It's great to chat with you. I think you have the most amazing job in EdTech. Literally.
I would agree. Not every day is sunshine and roses, but to be at this amazing precipice of learning and big technology is a really fascinating place to be.
It really is. So tell us a little bit about what it means to be a learning science team lead. You're informing the base model, you're informing all of these features, you're informing how features get into Google surfaces like YouTube. What does it look like on a daily basis?
Yeah, so we try to represent the voice of the teacher in each of these products and trying to help build great learning experiences when someone comes to Google search looking for help with their homework. Someone might come to Gemini looking for a deeper conversation. Someone might come to YouTube looking to learn a new skill. And so we want to try to make sure that we have great learning experiences in all of those different surfaces. So we have people embedded on those product teams who work throughout the product development lifecycle, from ideation, brainstorming, early evaluations. And I'd say the bulk of the work that we do is really evaluating the quality of those outputs. So we've tried to align on 5 learning science principles, which distill the body of learning science research. And product teams use these to guide their product development and also evaluate how they work. So these 5 principles are managing cognitive load, inspiring active learning, deepening metacognition, inspiring and motivating through curiosity, and adapting to the learner.
Yeah, and learning science is 80 years of all these journals. Sometimes it's combative. It's a very elegant approach to get down to 5 core principles, and it allows you to work across many teams, and they can sort of pick and choose and say, well, for what we're doing right now, curiosity is going to be the key, or what we're doing here, maybe it's cognitive load. Tell us about how that works.
Yeah, so again, we work with product teams and the product leads to really prioritize which learning science principles are going to be most relevant for that product. So for example, if you think about Google search, we really prioritize managing cognitive load and maybe some motivation and curiosity with links to why this is important in the real world. The others are a little bit less important in search. But if you come to Gemini and you're actually willing to engage in a longer conversation, we have the opportunity to help you learn actively, interact with that content. Yep. Maybe we can even get you to reflect on how that learning experience was and start to build those metacognitive skills.
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting to be able to bake these learning principles in across many surfaces. And one of the things that we were really awed and inspired at Edtech Insiders, you were doing LearnLM, designing a model specifically for the learning use case, and then LearnLM really became baked into the core Gemini model across all platforms. Tell us about how that came about, because that wasn't the most obvious thing that was going to happen with LearnLM from the outside, and when it happened, it just felt like a real dedication to learning.
Yeah, I think Google's really trying to build a great core model that can work across many different use cases. And that's where LearnLM fits in. We have contributed training data, we've contributed evaluations, and again, evaluations are really the heart of what our team does, is thinking about how might someone use the product and what is the quality of the response? What are the expectations that we'd want to see in a response? How would a teacher want the response to look? Yeah. And that's where we come in and say, here are the bunch of education use cases, here's how the responses should be. And we were really glad that the company has really decided to prioritize education and see that the models really benefit everybody when they are trained for learning.
Yeah, and how do you use human feedback in that loop, or did you use it to train the benchmarks? Do you still use human feedback to sort of evaluate the pedagogical effectiveness of the outputs?
Yeah, we use humans. I shouldn't say we use humans, we work with humans to evaluate the quality of our models, again, through every stage of the process, through the beginning design phases I talked about, product development, but we also work with the core modeling teams to figure out what are the best pedagogical practices and how the model should behave. And then we work with humans to evaluate the quality of responses. You might have seen these in our LearnLM technical reports. Yes. You'll see that humans are generating conversations, humans are evaluating conversations. We try to automate some of that as well, but there's always a human in the loop to make sure that we're doing the right thing pedagogically.
Yeah. And as we all struggle with in the learning science field, there's different ways to evaluate outputs. The lagging indicator is always outcomes, right?
Yes.
Did it work to actually achieve the learning outcome? That's a tricky thing to measure at the best of times. It's especially tricky when you have millions and millions of users doing all sorts of different things. I'm curious how you even begin to approach the outcomes-based research.
Yes, you're right. That would be the holy grail, to be able to say, okay, someone who used this tool or this product in this way over X amount of time really benefited and increased their learning outcomes. Because we don't have ready access to that data, although we do have a number of studies planned and in progress,
Great.
we have to look at shorter time horizon evaluations as well. So I would say the next shortest time horizon study is we do some fast efficacy studies where we might give someone a pre-test, invite them to use a tool, give them a post-test, and see whether or not they were able to increase their pre-test scores. Again, it's a proxy. It doesn't measure necessarily long-term learning or transfer as we would like to see. We can also follow up with them over time to see if they were able to retain that information.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the next best thing that we're working on. And then we do a number of other foundational studies and look at proxy metrics, like evaluating against our learning science principles.
Yep.
They're not a be-all, end-all, but they are a reasonable proxy for what we think good learning looks like.
One of the newest products that came out from Google is this Learn Your Way product from Google Research, and I saw exactly that kind of fast efficacy research where it was like people who did a personalized textbook versus a standard model or a different kind of learning had a significant increase both right after and I think a week later as you measured something like that.
Exactly.
Really interesting to be able to do that fast turnaround research and say, look, this is going in the right direction and it's working. And you do that for all the new products that come out in the Google LearnX team. Right?
We try to.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes we need to get it out in the world and see how people are going to use it and see what use cases they have. Yeah. But we try to do as many studies as we can.
Yeah. So let's talk about multimodal. It's something we're really passionate about at Edtech Insiders. Google is obviously out front in it. I noticed in the Learn Your Way paper they had to develop an educational illustration model just to be able to do educational illustrations in line. That was really exciting. But obviously Google is really, really doubling down on video and audio to some extent as well.
Yeah.
The fact that LearnLM is baked into Gemini, and Gemini is the fuel behind a lot of these generative models, means that potentially you could have learning principles baked into the multimodal outputs.
Yes.
That's very exciting for somebody like me, and I'm sure for somebody like you. I'd love to hear how you think about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that yet those models are using the learning science principles to create the videos, although I'm going to go check with the teams and see how we might be able to work on that.
Yeah, that'd
but
be great.
I'm also really excited about the potential for multimodal inputs as well as multimodal outputs.
That too.
Right? In a future world, could, instead of a teacher grading 50 essays, say, hey, each one of you needs to have a conversation with this AI tool, and that will help assess your knowledge and your ability to explain things. Right? So I think there's the voice. I think it might even grade your presentation.
Yep.
It might help you assess your physical skills.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about the input opportunities as well as the output opportunities.
And that becomes performance tasks or authentic assessments. It just gets a lot closer to the dream of education where it's not that everything is a proxy. It's a multiple choice test.
Exactly.
The test whether you could do this, you can actually do it. That's where we're all going. Julia Wilkowski is the Learning Science Team Lead at Google.
Thanks so much, Alex.